go. So this is the Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 Cemetery Commissioners meeting, starting at, I've got 6:05.
Yep, that's what I've got too.
Not too bad. Only 5 minutes late. Okay. First on the agenda would be review and approve the minutes of February 11th meeting, as we had to postpone the March meeting.
Do we want to
Mainly,
officially come to order with roll
oh,
call vote?
I don't think we have to do a roll call vote to come to order. I think
Oh,
just
good.
starting the meeting is usually just, ending the meeting is we vote, but, let's see. Yeah, so we did not have a March meeting due to a lot of scheduling conflicts and me ending up being out for the day. So we do need to approve the February 11th minutes. And has everybody had a chance to look through those? Dina, did you get to look them? Yeah, okay. I don't think I found anything, any corrections, omissions, errors, additions, anything.
I didn't. They look good to me.
Okay. So hearing nothing there, I suppose we should have done the motion to accept first. So would someone like to make that motion?
I'll
Okay.
move to accept the February minutes.
And I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on that then? Like I said, I think it's spot on. No corrections or anything to be added. If nobody else has any, we will do a roll call vote to accept the minutes. So, Susan,
Aye.
Dina,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye also. Those have been accepted and approved. All right, new burials, lot sales, and monument installations. It has actually been a little busy in the last few weeks. We did have one lot sale. It was to a former Shutesbury resident that has now moved to Belchertown. And she wanted one lot because I guess both her and her husband are going to be cremated. And they bought it it's in the new section, but up towards like where Cody's and Clark's are, that end.
Okay.
It was lot number 267G as in George. One lot for $550. And that was Carol Oral. They used to live on Town Farm Road.
Oh, spelling of her last name?
Orrell.
Got it.
It's
Thank you.
Orel, but yeah. Okay. So that we do have that sale, and as of today, in the last 2 weeks, there has actually been two burials.
Ooh.
We had Janice Gray last week, which was in our natural burial, green burial section. I know Susan, you were there.
Mhm.
I apparently everything went fairly well
It did.
okay.
It
The
was
biggest problem we had was waiting for the excavator to show back up. He got
oh,
there probably about, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 2:30. So I had to wait around for him. But then they showed up and apparently took care of everything. I had to get back to work at that point. So, and then today we had a burial. It was the one that we got the call on back in February when I was gone. Woman from Goshen had passed away, but her family, her sister and brother-in-law own a lot there, so she was being buried on that lot. So we got kind of a last minute notice the end of the week that they were planning on doing the funeral today at 1 o'clock. I was gonna call you guys to say, hey, I'm gonna be marking out the lot. So you could, if you wanted to attend. But there was still, it wasn't till just yesterday morning that the family figured out exactly where they wanted, it was an 8 plot lot and where they wanted everybody being. And matter of fact, they had chose it, written it down, and I looked at it and said, I think you might want to rethink this because it looked backwards to me. And when I explained things to them, they said, oh yeah, well, in that case, yes, put it this way. So I actually marked it out first thing yesterday morning, just before heading to work. So there wasn't really much time to call you guys and say, hey, I'm doing it. And I'd rather do it when we have time and I can explain it and let you guys actually, you know, do it yourself too. So we should look at that, picking up a day of whether it be a weekend or something like that, and that's nice weather, and just it's only going to take an hour or so to, if even that, just to go there and I'll explain how I do it, and then we'll pick a couple spots and have you guys go
Yeah,
out
we
and
should
play it out.
choose a day that's convenient to do it. And
Yeah.
I'd like
Yep.
to get that done because I worry that you'll be away and we won't know what we're doing.
Right, and so it would be good to do it sooner than later. Yep. So think about good days for you coming up, and or what when might work, and
I
we'll
think
try.
that you're the least flexible of us probably, Walter. So
Well, if it's a weekend, my weekends can be pretty flexible.
okay.
Depends. Um,
Yeah, and weekends are the easiest time for me normally.
Yeah, for me
okay.
too.
Oh, good. All right. So we'll just pick one of the weekends coming up that's nice, and we'll do it in the morning or early afternoon, and that way we can go on with the rest of our days. So
Sounds good.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, the weekend of Mother's Day, I'm going up to see my Vermont niece.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm fine.
Okay. I'll look at my schedule and you guys look at yours, and that's something we can even do just, I believe, by email, because it's,
But yeah,
I don't know if we'll have to post that or not, because we're all getting together. We're not really discussing anything. We're training. So,
I don't think that's, yeah, public duty off business, really.
right. Okay. Yeah, because we're not making any decisions about anything.
no, we're learning how to do the job.
Yeah.
Right. That's all. It's a training. Okay. All right. Good. And then we do
Oh, hang on
have,
a sec. I should probably have the name of the person who was buried the other day.
oh, yes. Yep. And let me get that. I got the burial permit right here. Um, her name was Joanne, Joanne, middle initial L, last name Bradshaw, Bradshaw. And that was Karen Zawanka's
Oh,
sister. She is buried on the Zawanka lot.
okay. And so is Karen's sister?
Yes. Yeah, one of Karen's sisters. Yep.
Okay.
Um, while we're on the topic of burials, just a reminder from the town clerk to get her paperwork.
Yes. Yes. I've got these just from this last week, and then I've got some older ones that I got to sit down and figure out sometime that she's going to be into the office, and go up there and sit down with her and go through them.
Yeah, she's aware that they're not done and it concerns her.
Yep. Okay.
I was informed.
Okay. Well, hopefully I can find a time when I'm available and she is there during her business hours.
Yeah,
And
her business hours are pretty regular, and so
okay. All right. Well, I'll get going on that. And then there is the possibility of a cremational burial on May 17th, I believe it is. It's going to be for the oral lot that was just bought.
yeah.
Her husband passed away a while ago, and he's been cremated, and she's wants to get him interned. So there's going to be a ceremony. She called me the other day and told me that there'd be they want to do a memorial service or ceremony up at the cemetery on that date. And then she wasn't sure if she wanted to, if I was available to have him intern that time, or if she'd just bring them up and bring them home and intern them at another time. I said, no, if you're going to be up there with the ceremony, just
Do
let
it.
me know and we'll do it. And I had actually given her, I thought I had given her a copy of the cremation burial worksheet, questionnaire. She doesn't remember getting it. So I'm going to I'll call her up and just go through it in a list and ask her the questions just to make sure. So,
So who is she that's doing this talking?
this is the Carol Oral, the wife. She's the one
Oh,
that
okay.
actually bought the lot.
Okay. So we buried somebody in Carol Oral's lot.
No, we
No.
will, no,
Okay, the
no, in
gravestone.
May. In May we
Okay,
will be.
sorry, I'm with you. I'm not
Yep.
at my desk today.
That's okay. Sometimes I think I'm saying something clearly and I'm not, so don't worry about that.
Thanks.
Okay. Um, so I think that's it. I know with these recent burials, there's probably going to be some monument installations, but nothing that I've been contacted with right now. Um, actually, I think Carol Oral is talking about having one going up to Greenfield and talking to them and getting one scheduled to be put in. So don't know when that will be. That takes a while sometimes. So I think that's it on burials, lot sales, and monument installations, unless anybody has any questions on that or what. Done.
Well, it's a question. Did Patrick say anything to you about a stone for Janice?
No, I didn't actually see Patrick. That day being that it was kind of a private funeral, I just kind of stayed out in the
I,
wings. And when he left, he never said anything. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he assumed Janice had planned everything. So it depends
right.
what Janice set up.
Yeah, and I don't know if she had gotten for a headstone or not. I'm not sure.
She sure did a lot of stuff. Why don't I ask
Yeah.
Patrick about that?
Okay, you can do that. Sure. All right. Anything else on burials, lot sales, monument installations? Okay, moving on to the update on the ground penetrating radar and mapping project. Ah, so Tom Cunningham sent us everything. Everything looks good. We've got the paper copies, we've got electronic copies of those paper files. The main one that he did with um all the measurements and all that stuff is a Corel file, as we talked about, Corel Draw file. I went and the other day actually purchased, I was happened to be in, because I looked online and it was a little expensive, and I was in Staples getting some other stuff, and they happen to have Corel Draw Essentials, which is the more basic one, for sale. So I looked at it, it says it's right on the box here, latest version included. So you buy you get this whole box, and inside's a little piece of paper with an address and a serial number, and you go and you download it from their website, which
Uh-huh.
is kind of ridiculous to have something this huge, but it says latest version included. So I downloaded it. Everything worked fine. I went to open the file from Tom, and it says I cannot open it because it was made with version 20 point, I needed at least version 25.1 to open it. I think, well, he created this last fall. I just downloaded this just last weekend. So I was like, I think it was actually this Saturday, I downloaded it. I was like, this is not right. So I ended up Monday morning calling Corel and told them, I just bought this. It's Corel Draw Essentials. I don't need the whole suite I'm not a graphic artist. I don't need all this other stuff. I just need this. And it comes with a few other things anyways. And I said, I went to open this file and I can't open it. It says I need version 25.1. I said, I went online to try to upgrade and there's no way to do it. He says, well, no, you can't. We don't support CorelDRAW Essentials. You bought a 2024 version, and we're not upgrading that. We're upgrading everything else, but we're not upgrading that one. You're either gonna have to call him back and have him send you a file in a 2024 version. And I said, well, if he created on 2025, if he's got the modern software, he said, well, that's all right. They allow you can go back and save it in a different one. Then I'm thinking, well, if he saves in a different one and it doesn't have all the functions, then we're going to lose a lot of the functions out of it. I said, no, really, why can't I upgrade this? And they said, well, no. I said, so you mean I just spent $150 for nothing? And he said, well, no, not for nothing, but and in the end, what he did was he sent me an email with a voucher for a discounted version of the Corel, the full suite of stuff. So I haven't taken the time to go in and look and see how much they discounted it, because I can either get that in a legacy version or just forever version and don't have it updated, or you can get the subscription, which you pay so much a month. And it's like, for only using it to open this file and do this, that's why I bought just the basic one. It should be good. Well, it's not. So I'm going to have to buy an upgraded version of it, even just to open the files that we have, which
Maybe
seems
that is frustrating.
absolutely ridiculous. And it makes me not feel like really supporting them very much, but it's all marketing and all that. They don't want to. And to me, the draw part of it is the same, whether it's a basic stand by itself or it's a part of the suite, but they're not upgrading the basic one or the standalone one. They're only upgrading the suite. So it sounds just more like a marketing ploy to get you to spend more money. Is all it does.
It does.
Yeah. But we're kind of stuck right at the moment. I before I actually do it, I am going to call Tom down in Texas and say, if you save it as an earlier version, are we going to lose any of the functionality, like the being able to do measurements and being able to add, people's names into each lot and all that stuff? And if he says maybe so, then I'll just buy a newer, or look at how much it's discounted and possibly get a newer version. And I did it with my own money because it has to be tied to a computer. And as we don't have a computer right now, and it seems ridiculous to spend $1,200 or $1,500 to buy a computer just so we can put a program on it to open one file. I think our money is better spent other ways. If we get to the end of the year and we see, well, we have some left over and we feel we want to do that, we'll maybe look at that. But it seems like that's kind of a waste of money.
Conversation is being recorded.
Yes.
For town archives. I'd just like to go on record as saying that this is one of the reasons, this is the kind of situation where the town having an IT person, a designated IT person who could do this kind of negotiating with the software company, who could make sure our software was on a platform that was usable and updated and could manage having it on the right computer. I mean, at a certain point, we're gonna, as a town, have to bite the bullet and have somebody to manage this stuff for us, because
Right.
all of these people volunteering on committees who are older are not digitally
Right. And it's getting so complicated with,
agile.
I know different departments, like even in the fire department, when we were going, we get a program for doing something, and next thing you know, that company's been bought out. We were doing training on it. It was something that the state was spending the money on. And from the time we made the contract, did the training and got done, the company had been bought and sold 2 or 3 times. It was changing names all the time. And then they got where they didn't support that. It was
Right.
like, oh, wait a minute, we just put all this time and money into it and you're not even really supporting it.
Yeah, and we learned how to do it and we brought ourselves up to speed and then we're still way behind. So
Yeah,
anyway, I just, it's a conversation that we're going to keep having to have until
yeah,
we figure out a way to have somebody who's keeping track of
yeah.
it.
Money to do it.
Yeah.
Dina, can you send me the statement that you just made? Because it was too fast and too good for me to get
Well,
all down.
I mean, we can do it
It's
from the
recorded.
recording too.
We
Yeah,
recorded it. That's true.
Yeah,
right.
it's in the
I
recording.
have
And
to
it's
read.
really just this is the gist of it is this is the kind of situation we're going to keep running into where we're spending money for software that isn't effective for us.
Yeah.
Right. And if it can be bought with a couple, cheaper to buy it with a couple licenses if two or three departments need it, then it's a lot better that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm still working that out and hopefully it should, I'll come up with something at least in the interim so we can open that file up and start using it. I mean, there is always, low tech, and I think it'd be good to do when we have time is to, like we talked about before, a 3-ring binder with each page is each a lot and handwrite everything, or, even do it on the computer and print it out, but have a page for each lot.
Yeah.
Because God forbid something happens and, the file on this gets corrupted or whatever happens.
Some of this we might be able to get somebody to come in who's an intern from UMass to do some of
Hmm.
the data entry sort of input from us, somebody who needs a project.
All right.
Um,
It's still going to be some boots on the ground going to each lot and looking at it and saying
Probably,
who's, oh, it's
but
in
that's the
each
thing. It
stone.
might be an
Yeah.
interesting thing if we get somebody in the landscape architecture department.
Hmm.
Um, you know, where this kind of tedious project of mapping a place and going and seeing it is
Yeah.
actually relevant learning for them.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
It's a
it's
good
worth
idea.
thinking about. I saw a bunch of students today from the School of Public Health who put together a health fair at the senior center in Hadley that was really quite great. And
Hmm.
it made me think
Hmm.
about other ways we should be tapping into talented people there at the university.
Right. Yeah, because I feel it's kind of our responsibility at this point to get this, a handle on it because, we aren't always going to be here. Just like I was talking with Dennis Clark yesterday, as I marked out the grave, he showed up just as I was finishing marking it out. And we were talking about different places and things, and I said, "Yeah, there's some places in this cemetery that people are buried and they don't have headstones." Well, we know there's a whole bunch from Lord knows when, but there's even some recently. I said, "I know some people, this guy buried over there. They never put a headstone on his grave. When his wife finally died, they put one on hers, but he's not marked out." So as far as I know, I'm the only one that knows where he is. And he says, "Yeah, well, what happens when you leave?" I
Right.
said, that's why we have to, start looking at all this stuff and taking the responsibility to mark everything out, which part of this, the radar penetrating or ground penetrating radar and the mapping was a good way to, know exactly what's there because,
And to have the data and get started, but I still
right.
think I'm wondering if maybe even um and we should talk about this more, but if we could find some money for the job, it could be a a summer job for a local high school student to get the
Yeah,
data entry done and the plotting. To take the next step from the radar mapping is getting this stuff
right. Because
into
we
books.
can't even put that in the electronic file if
Right,
we don't
exactly.
have it. You
Right.
got to go with boots on the ground and get it first.
Yeah, so I think that we should really have a plan for how to get this done this year if we can.
Mm,
Um, and see if we can find some money. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of money, but to
yeah,
hire somebody to do at least part of the work and get it started in the next steps.
sure. Sounds good. All right.
Because it's a great discrete little project,
Yes, yep. And it is, looking at preserving history and that information, because as we know, we found out this year, I have to count them up, but there's a lot of, you know, people buried in the cemetery that there is no record. We don't know who they were, all those unknown lots. At this point, we don't know. So,
Right.
we don't need to have more of that.
No,
So and that's part of history that's gone. We don't know, even if we did get a list of names, we don't know who's where.
Right.
So, unfortunately. All right. That's good. We should look at that and I'll put it on the agenda for one of the upcoming meetings is just to
And I'll give
start
it
that.
some, and we should, I think if we each think about, you know, what the discrete parts of that project might look like and
Yeah,
sort of break it down a little bit and see which parts we can get to. And then you know, at least then we can show people that there's a plan and
right.
for moving forward. I think it's really important we've got the radar mapping done, but yeah, the next steps on that are
Yep. And I mean, I'm even willing to do this because I've been thinking about doing it anyways, is for each lot, I've got a template made up already for like an 8 plot lot, and I can do one for a 6 and a 4 or whatever, however those lots are, and then just take from the map, it's lot number 1, and this is north. It's, 45 to or 40 to 58 feet from the center line, put the measurements right on there. With if we can get into this Corel Draw file, we have all the depths of all of them because they do change some of them. And then we have a paper map, and just I can pretty much mass produce these, so I wouldn't mass produce them, but go through the map and just put the numbers in for each one and lot number, and just have them print them all out, and then we can put them in a book, even for going out and getting the information initially. So you
right.
don't have to sit there and write all that stuff down. You just flip the page, write what's on the headstones in what direction, sketch it out. We can always, clean it up afterwards, but that would be a
Yeah,
good start for giving somebody, you know, think about how we'd go about getting somebody to do that, but I can get the bare essentials for the hardware we need to do it too.
yeah, that's
Okay.
good.
All right. Yeah, we'll put that on for, and we'll talk about it even next month. So just to keep the ball rolling on this.
Yeah,
Okay. Anything more on that?
for
Hmm?
me.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the CPA grant. I left that on there because at the time of our last meeting, they were going to be having the meeting to ask questions. I was going to attend that. I just totally forgot about it. The timing being 6 hours off was a little difficult. Um, so was there any questions that came up? Susan, do you
well,
know?
so I went, and what I remember is Mateo tends to ask the same question, which is, "Are you finished? How many more of these do you anticipate having?" And I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
Do we have an answer to that?
Um, I guess it depends on how far we want to take it. This would finish up what tomorrow's initial, these are the most important, these are the most dangerous ones to be done. Um, I, I think after that, we'd have to look and say, all right, take another look at it and say, well, what is there that we could fix? And what is there that's outside our realm of being able to do? And you know look at that and see. I mean, unfortunately, cemeteries are always, I mean, we could start looking at the other cemeteries and say, well, there's some work that can be done in the Pratt Corner Road Cemetery, and there's work that could be done in the Locks Pond Cemetery. So
No, I think that this is just you know, it's really a question of ongoing maintenance
right.
in the town cemeteries, and that periodically we do these larger projects. But it's
Yep.
not like it's ever finished,
Right.
really.
Right. No, and maybe we can find different sources so we don't have to keep going back to do the
Yeah.
CPA, but there have been years also, you hear that, well, nobody put in for CPA, so it's like, wow, okay, well, you know,
Well,
if it's there and we can use it for a good purpose, why not? But
yeah.
yeah, so what was your answer to that, Susan? Did you have an answer for him or no?
I say, gee, I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
That's
I
good.
would say the official answer would be at at this point, this round was to finish up the initial 44 stones that were identified by Tamara Conde, that were the most important and in most in need of having repair, for be it safety or historic value. So, and that's how she prioritized them.
Okay.
And then I think we did get an email that said that they had approved our grant. Was that
Yeah,
correct?
I thought
Yes.
so.
Yeah. So then it just has to go to town meeting coming up and get
Yeah.
approved there.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's not coming up until the end of May, right?
Right. Yeah, they put it off to the end of May this year.
Yeah.
So I probably should give Tamara a call and just let her know where we stand with this. And I want to double check that she finished the first part, because we never received the bill for the second half of the phase one of the work done. So,
My suspicion is that it isn't finished yet.
mm,
That's mine too.
yeah, I kind of thought that way. So I'll give her a call. Let me mark that down as a reminder.
Thanks, Walter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, just see where she is with that. All right. Anything more on that then?
No.
I think we're good there. All right. Then probably the big one of the night is instructions and guidelines for green natural burials.
so in that email that I sent you all, the
Yeah.
last minute, the um the last of those three links is opening, closing, and maintenance of a green burial grave.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry, I did not get a chance to look at it yet.
it's okay, but what
Yeah.
what I think we should do um is all of us should read through this and highlight the parts that you think should be part of our guidelines, and we can just I have permission to borrow any parts of this we want to borrow.
Oh, good.
So we don't have to really rewrite everything. We just have to look through this. It's quite comprehensive, and think about which parts of this we'd like to put on our own site and provide to people who want guidance.
Yeah, I didn't get around to reading the last part, but I read the first two and they were both interesting.
They're great.
Yeah.
The woman who wrote them, Lee Webster, she's in New Hampshire. She's been my mentor for a number of years, and she's just incredibly generous
Mhm.
with her time and with her knowledge, and just wants people to have the information so things are done well. That's it.
So neat. Yeah. Run into that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's and there's it's really pretty comprehensive. I mean, it even talks about managing invasive species and stuff, right? So the
Wow.
it's comprehensive. It talks about mowing, it talks about pest management, it talks about maintenance, it talks about markers. So we should go through this and see which parts we want to adopt for our cemetery. I think that's the smartest way to go.
Okay.
And you can just highlight things, and if you want, you can just go through and highlight things or cut and paste or how, whatever method works to you, and send it to me, and then I'll try and pull it together for a draft for our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, is that an assignment? I think that's an assignment.
Yep.
Yeah. And if we
We
all,
have our homework.
yeah, that's it. And so, you know, a couple days, if you aim for a couple days before our next meeting, that's enough time for me to bang it together. And I, you know, my thinking was that if all of us really read through it, then we're all on the same page and
Right.
and we know what parts we want to leave behind and what parts we want to pull forward together. So
Yep.
it makes more sense because I might really miss something.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, to me, this is all, even though we've been doing it for a little while, it's all very new to me too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and this will make it really reading through this, it'll make it like much more um it makes it much more regular.
Right.
You know, the
Okay.
thing about the winter burial section is they're saying that people are starting to return to the kind of on the ground vault to keep
Yes.
bodies in.
Yes.
Hmm.
And reusing the ones that are already there. Isn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
like ours.
But it's complicated um when you have winters that are not quite as cold,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
right?
Yep.
I mean, they used to put ice in those houses in the winter
Right.
to
Yeah. Oh, in the days that people cut ice out of lakes and ponds.
out of Puffer's Pond.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Baker, you know, would cut out ice and put ice in them. So yeah,
Yeah. We're not having the winters that we used to,
No.
no,
although we did get, quite a bit of frost this year. So there was, I
yeah,
know, according to Clark's, there was about a foot and a half of frost in the ground for a while. So
yeah. I thought it went pretty deep because it got cold.
yeah.
But you know, there are ways around this. I mean, including heaters
Yep.
and lighting fires
Oh,
over,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, and the ground heats up and then you can dig.
Yeah. That
So
would have to be, if it's got a foot and a half of frost, it would have to be an
some
extensive
fire.
fire for quite a while before that would get down through. But
Yeah.
as heat tends to rise, not go down. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, will be interesting to look at it and see. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, we got our homework.
Yeah.
Okay. More on that or not?
I don't think so
Okay.
right now.
All right. Number 6 was the purchase of the Corel Draw software, but we've already discussed that, so we don't need to talk about that again. Um, Other unfinished business that we have. All right. Any? No. New business. I put these two down, and one of them being the current financial status. I put that paperwork together a while ago, and to tell you the truth right now, I don't know where that is. Um, I can pretty much tell you. Let's see. I might have some information or notes here.
You can tell us our current financial status next month, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, I know we have not spent anything out of the operating, which we will be doing, especially with the next topic here. But I think I thought I had. No, it's not here. I must have moved it into a different file. Check one more spot here. Notebooks. Okay, I don't have it right here. I'll definitely put that together for next month, but Or, hold on. Let me do this. I think I might have it electronically. Oh, come on. Come again, maybe not.
It's okay.
Yeah, I just thought maybe I could have it right here, but I'm sure I have it somewhere, but nonetheless, we're not in a bad situation. Let's put it that way. We we were able to get things. I think our expendable is, I'm trying to think where it is now after we did paid for all the ground penetrating radar and all that, but we used less than we had originally thought we were going to have to. So um it's worked out pretty good. And then we still have all our matching funds and everything for the next grant coming up, CPA grant coming up, if we get approved for that. So we're doing halfway decent.
That's good.
Um
Not
the
like we spend a whole lot of money.
No, we don't. Not like we make a whole lot either. We have a big budget, but every once in a while, like we did several big projects this last couple of years. So most of it was through grants and all that, but we've probably spent more money in the last couple of years than we have, or done more than we have in a long time.
Well, we did the two big projects this last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's good. Um, So I just wanted to touch on equipment, service, and maintenance. I met with Carl the other weekend. We were going to do the service, but the last 2 weekends it's been raining like crazy. I did go over there one day and went to try to start the mowers. One of them turned over but wouldn't fire up. The other one wouldn't even turn over. So I pulled the batteries out, brought them home, put them on charge. They're all charged up. They weren't down that much, so it made me think that one of them, the larger one, probably had just a problem with the solenoid, which usually can fix with a little percussive maintenance and get it going. And once it starts running, it's fine. The other one was cranking over but not firing up. Might have to just use a little work on the carburetor to get fuel to it and get it fired up, and then we'll get it here and go through them right through, do the oil filter change, new blades, check all the belts, grease it, clean it, pull all the mouse nests out of them. One of them doesn't look bad. One of them I can tell definitely that there's mouse made a nest inside the motor. So um,
Yeah.
we'll go through all that. Um, Probably will pick up, because we're using the last of the oil filters. I'd like to pick up some more oil filters. A few things for around the shed, and I did this. I took some pictures the other day to remind myself of what they were. One thing, getting back to being the cemetery more self-reliant and not using all my stuff. I use a 300-foot tape measure for marking out the graves. I use my own. I think we should own our own. The cemetery should. I just to get an idea, there was a 300-foot DeWalt tape at, I don't know if this is Home Depot or Lowe's. It's basically $35. Cheap enough. I think we should own, the cemetery commission should have one of their own, and maybe a shorter tape, like a 25-foot or a 30-foot tape. That's usually what I use for marking out graves and squaring them up. So it'd be good to have that. Maybe a small sledgehammer. Again, I use that for pounding in some steel stakes every once in a while. Um, some WD-40, some starting fluid that we use in, on for maintenance and stuff, but is down to just about nothing in the stockpile of materials in the shed. So, I don't know if you want to put a spending limit on it or not, but I'd like to get permission to just go and purchase all these things and a couple tapes, the
I mean,
300-foot, 25-foot.
it sounds like basic
Yeah,
maintenance.
it's basic stuff. It's not like any big purchases. So
Yeah,
So I make a motion that the commission approve Walter spending the money he needs to do the necessary maintenance.
I'll second that.
maintenance and parts. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. All right, thank you. Well, that's a motion. We have you
I
need to
second
second
it.
it. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Dina,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye also, although I should probably abstain. But all right, thank you. That will allow me to get going on some of that stuff.
Thank
And there's a few other parts that I identified that were, like little clips and things that hold covers on, see if I can get those. They're really not much for cost. It's just, get them now before something falls off and we lose a cover or something like that. So, probably this weekend. It seems like the weather's going to be good, so I'm not sure if Carl is available, but even if he isn't, I think I'd like to get at least the big mowers over here and get the maintenance done on them so they're ready to go, because things are going to start popping soon. So
Yeah. Given that we know the cost of certain things are just gonna rise sort of exponentially this year, are there things like parts we should make sure we have that we know we always need to have, in a year or something? Or are there things we should be planning to purchase now before costs increase?
yeah, one of them that I ran into some problems last year in purchasing is for the small mower. Husqvarna is not making the blades for it anymore.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And while we had enough that are still sharpenable, eventually, they wear out and we run down. So what I need to do is take one of the blades down for measurements and see if Devon Lane can cross-reference it to an aftermarket blade. Because it seems ridiculous that you've got a mower that's, still very serviceable and all that, and they're not making blades for it.
Right.
So,
Well, see, this is the kind of thing
yep.
I
That
just
they're expendable stuff, they're consumables, but not very quickly, but sure enough, eventually they're either going to be unavailable or so costly that it's ridiculous. So,
right. So if there's stuff that would like that would um therefore extend the life of our equipment,
yep,
because the equipment becomes obsolete when you can't buy parts for it anymore. So
right. Oh yeah, which seems ridiculous, but
it does. It makes me
Right.
crazy. But
yep.
it's how
We're such a throwaway society, but we extended into very expensive
I know.
stuff that there's no need not to keep it running. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, whatever we can do.
Okay. All right. I will move forward on that because this is April, so we've got May and June. We've got only 2.5 months left of the fiscal year. So
Right.
I will go ahead and put a list together. I know I took pictures of all the belts and I wanted to cross-reference those with the drawings to make sure that I always like to have at least one belt for every belt on the mower, just in case. They last quite a long time, but if one goes, then you're stuck. So I like to have at least one of each kind for both mowers in stock. That gives us, if one goes, hopefully within a couple of years you could find a replacement. So, all right. And I think that's all I have for the maintenance. Well, Carl and I were gonna talk a little bit about different projects. We didn't really get around to that, but yeah, I'm thinking he's just going to continue on with what he's been doing and what we planned on for, keep up with the brush cutting. And he's already done some, and in the fall time, some of the trees that had gotten out of control that people planted as small plants, and they, gotten really out of control. He hit that pretty good last fall and cut a lot of stuff back, and it made a big difference. You can actually see some of the headstones now that you didn't even know were there. Um, so I think we'll be continuing on that project through the summer.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Did talk to Dave from the highway yesterday. Because I went up there yesterday to mark out the grave, and over the weekend one of the guys had decided to try to plow the roads when we had the 5 inches of heavy wet snow with basically no frost in the ground. Big mistake. It really kind of tore up the parking lot. So I stopped by there and said, you guys plowed, made kind of a mess. We're having a funeral tomorrow. I need you to go up there right now and fix it. So they did at least drag out the big high ridges and all that. There still could be a little bit more to be done, but when he saw me walking up, he says, "I'm gonna go get the loam within the next couple of days," being from last year when they drove the truck out into that low spot
Yeah.
put up the banner for the library's road race there. And so he knows that I'm still after him about that to get that loamed and seeded. So things are happening, hopefully.
Thank you.
Now that winter's over, we can actually get out there and start doing things. So, and I think that's all I had for equipment service and maintenance.
Okay.
Any items not anticipated 48 hours prior to the meeting? Okay. Let's see. Date for next meeting would be, let's see. Third Wednesday in May would be the 21st.
I can do that day.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna look because I'm showing two things. Okay, that's nothing. It's ongoing stuff.
Great.
All right, so, yep, I just said it. May 16th. Oh, that's April. Come on. May 21st.
May
Is that what we
20.
said?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the next meeting date will be May 21st. Okay. And before we sign off, anything else that anybody can think of before? All right.
Dina
Very good.
and I did talking about, I was going to talk about Janice's burial but after we,
Let's stop recording.
yeah,
Okay.
after we stopped recording.
All right. Yeah, that's not a business thing. It's just a discussion on how things went. Okay. Very good. All right. So hearing nothing else, I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
I so moved to adjourn.
Okay. Seconded. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Tina,
Aye.
Susan,
Hi.
and I vote aye also. So thank you very much. And we will stop the recording.